And welcome to day 5 of creating a peer-to-peer web game in Rust. Um, I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, so yesterday we were able to get a player to join, but we had some issues, and it looked like we had a race condition, because in some cases the new player that's joining would only get one here and then start the session and only get the second here later on. Because when the lobby system runs, it doesn't wait for any certain number of players. Has no way of knowing how many players will already be in the game. Yeah. So one solution to this might be to just because right now we have like a minimum number of players of 2, and so once there's 2 players, then it starts the session. Well, maybe the minimum could be 1, right? So even if no one else is connected, it will start the session right away and not try to connect to other players. Then everybody starts on the same foot. It doesn't solve the issue that we need to synchronize people once they join mid-game. That we definitely still need to do, but at least when the initial session starts, we won't have that kind of random occurrence of different behaviors. Yeah, and then we can treat any player addition the same way and not have to have like special handle special conditions where maybe a player joined on the initial session and some other player joined mid-game, which we could just we could see if we could have just everyone join mid-game and not actually have to wait for people before creating the session. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking right now. We could do, yeah, so we would have to set args players at 1. And I'm pretty sure there was some issue, I think maybe a few weeks ago we tried running this, I guess, in single player, just 1. And I feel like there was an issue with it. I can't quite remember. So let's test that again and see. I'm not sure it's able to synchronize properly with just 1 player. So if we test that, then we'll be able to see if it can indeed, then that would make things easier for us. Otherwise, well, we'll go from there. All right, so server started. Let's create a room. I might have to close these other ones to make sure they're not all joining in the same room. Let's just do room 3. Okay, it looks like it does work, which is great news. Except I'm not blue and orange, so maybe the color's off, but interesting. Let's see. Okay, room 4. Yeah, this always happens. Okay, so not sure why, but we could figure this out later. So what happens if I join room 4? I think it was mid-game like this. Okay, everything freezes up, and let's look at the errors. All right, okay, the same error as before. Oh, hold on, this is new. Yeah, this one's new, maybe. Sessions, P2P session. I wonder if that's in the code that we wrote. Might be. And then this one, same error. All right. Well, already that's good news. That's or at least they failed for the same reason. So it was like line 841, I think. Yeah, P2P session. Yeah, it's here. This is update player disconnects. Check if players are registered as disconnected for earlier frames on other remote players in comparison to our local assumption. Disconnect players that are disconnected for other players and update the frame they are disconnected. Okay, so it's, I guess, propagating the disconnection. The thing is, who disconnected, right? Like, is it maybe when we updated our, let's see, our player registry? Did we overwrite something? I don't know. Oh, and by the way, I thought that this kind of seems familiar, this disconnection stuff, but I thought the error was like in protocol, like network protocol, usually, right? But now we're getting it here. Yeah. Well, we know what triggers this. This is when a player joins mid-game, right? So go back to box game. And main session, this is all okay. It's all right. And then handle joining players. This is when the issue happens. We call this add player. And something in here, I guess, it's not happy with, I guess. Maybe we need to tell it that there's a new player connected or something. I mean, player remote. If we add a player, it's for sure going to be a remote player. And then the peer address is going to go in the registry, which I think is a hash map, if I'm not mistaken. I can't tell right now. Add player. Handles, okay. Handles is a hash map. Player registry is a struct with three different hash maps. Handles remote spectators. So, all right. Let me go back to P2P session and let's find our add player function. All right. So when we add a player, I suspect maybe something around the endpoints. Maybe we're not doing something right here. Because when we go to remotes, insert, the key is peer address, right? And let me think. Is it possible that our peer address is the same peer address because we're using the same computer? We're just different tabs, different windows? Maybe. Maybe would it be relevant to log this? No, I think peer address. I think our peer address is unique. Now that I think about it, and we have logs to prove that. I think this peer ID is the peer address, right? Local doesn't have an ID, but the remote one does. And the other player here should have a different ID for the other player. B9C, E8. So at least I think that's the peer address. Let me see. Peer endpoint, T address. And then if I go to box game, where we're logging this, let's see, where's the address? Peer address. Here. Peer ID. Maybe that's different. That looks different. Okay, so what's the peer address? Should we log that? I'll go ahead and log that. Just so we have a bit more visibility. P2P session address. And how am I going to log that from here? For logging, we're using info macro, which I believe is part of Bevy. And that's like a println, but it works in the web or on any platform, unlike println, I believe. But yeah, peer address. It's not going to compile like, and I don't want to add Bevy as a dependency to, but that wouldn't make sense. So how about this? Instead of logging this here, we make sure that this is accessible. Now, I don't know if this is going to fail immediately. Perhaps. Maybe. But if it does, at least we'll know. But no, it's not filling immediately. It's filling like in the disconnect, like way down. So we could definitely log this. So let me think. Peer address. Just want to see what's happening here. Create endpoint. I could find out what the endpoints are, possibly. Self.create endpoint, and then that will create it. That will return it. What do I do with the endpoint after it's created? Is that the issue? Maybe. Am I supposed to assign this somewhere? Insert spectators. Remotes. Okay, it's in the player registry. This is a hash map of address to endpoint. All right. So let me go to the struct and player registry. Make that public. Create private type player registry and public interface. Private. Can't just make this public because it says create private. Where's that? It looks like this here. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I think we're going down the wrong path. Because maybe let's work backwards from the air. I don't think this is an issue because it does work properly if if this all happens before the session begins. When this happens, I'm suspecting that, I don't know, like, yeah, okay, let's lock the address because it might be useful to know if like if the peer address is the same, then we know that local players. Wait, is it look? Where do I have local players here? The endpoint is handles, peer address, local players. Okay. Here, Y number. The host of the spectator sends inputs for all players. Maybe I need to look back at the original file. Oh wait, this was from Builder, wasn't it? So create endpoint. This is the number of local players. Handles. Wait, so okay, I think it could be that, like, if we have the same peer address, we're just we have like two different handles on the same peer address, and maybe when we drop, like when we replace this endpoint with a new one, the old one maybe doesn't get cleaned up properly, right? So we're calling synchronize here. Maybe we need to like desynchronize the old endpoint for I wonder if that's why. Okay, handles. Just make sure here. Rendering through the handles. If the player type equals. Okay, I think something's wrong here because the player type, does that include if two different, okay, if I've got two different remote type players, would they be considered equal? I guess not, right? I mean, like here when we're comparing these two, the player type. I think it would compare the address. That's equal. I mean, I would assume so, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I don't know how deep this equality goes. Then again, I feel like we copied the same logic, unless I mean it could be an implementation error on my part. Local players. Let's calculate here. I think. Let's look at the endpoint, right? So like endpoint, what methods are on this? Disconnect. So if we disconnect and then create the new endpoint, are we gonna lose sync with all the players? Or we won't because I don't know. let's try it out. Hold on, before we do that. For sure, we're not actually replacing an endpoint because if there's two players, we got a local one, and then when the other one joins, it's a remote. So it creates an endpoint. It's not overwriting anything for sure. It's the first remote player that we get. So even if peer address was the same, we're in a different aftermath, right? And I guess it wouldn't be because the local doesn't even have a peer address. Okay, so I think we can rule this out. Actually, now that we think about it. Let's have a closer look at where the error is coming from. So 841. All right, check our local info for that player. Okay, so this runs for every handle. And this number of players comes from the session. Pretty sure we updated that. So when the new player joins, we should have number of players too. So this runs twice. So this handle, which is an index, I think. Is that the index or the element? I always get confused. I think this is the element. Number of players. I don't know. Well, in this case, it's an index because number of players is just a number. Yeah. So this is the index. Can the handle be 0? I think so. That would be like the local player. Yeah, it would have to. So it could be 0 or 1. Right. So oh wait, 841. So one of them is not disconnected. Update player disconnects. Check all player connection status for every remote player. We only have one remote player. Should only have one. For endpoints and self values. If endpoint not running, continue. Okay, if it is running, then we connection status. Here, connect status. All right. So is the endpoint running? We did synchronize. I don't know if this actually gets triggered. And then by the time it gets to here, it fails. Self local connect status. And we'll disconnected. Which column did it fail on again? 36. Yeah, so here. And the error was index out of bounds. The length is 1, but the index is 1. Oh, interesting. So we got handle. The handle was 1. But the number of players is 1 then? If the length is 1. Yeah, that means the number of players is not 2. Where is this getting the number of players from? Right, so I think we did not update this number of players. I thought we had, but or is it because we restart the endpoint too soon? Let's see. I think we're way up here. That player. Where is our number of players in thing? All right, this should increase the number of players, but not. Or maybe we're increasing the number of players too soon. And then it's no. No. Clearly, we had an index of 1. The handle was 1, which I believe that's the remote player. And I mean, this is triggered when the remote player joins. So yeah, but curiously, number of players was not 2. Maybe we miscalculated here. Was self.number of players possibly 0? What is that, the number of remote players? Potentially. If player handle is greater than or equal to number of players, this should have failed. Right? Number of players. For local player, handle should be between 0 and 1 player. For remote player, remote should be greater than or equal to number of players. Maybe that's the issue. Because if the number of players is 2, now if the number of players is 1, okay, maybe this was 0 to begin with. Yeah, let's go see docs game. And where the session gets created. So here. Gonna have like a number of players set somewhere. All right, so players, and that should be 1. Yeah, default value 1. So session build has the right number of players, and then start P2P session should pass self number of players. It should be 1. And then yeah, I mean that should be enough, right? Players. Okay, I'm not sure why. Why does it think there's only 1 player? Must be somehow did something wrong and added too many players. Let me check the errors again. How the logs. Handle 1. This is the new player that joined. Players. Length is 1, but index is 1. How could the length be 1? Okay, it must be. Let me go back to P2P session. Here, clearly, the number of players is not being updated. Self number of players equals num players, which is here. Self number. I don't know. Maybe a G plus equals 1. That's just really weird. Self dot num players plus 1. I mean, if we're increasing it too early, I would get it, but I don't know. This should already be increased by the time. Plus equals 1 should be the same. Maybe let's log the number of players from boxing to be 100% sure. Can we do that? We have to make it public. Or maybe we don't. I think there's already a getter function on that. All right, so handle joining players. Where do we get add player here? Then let's do number of players. Info. Now have that. Right. All right. I don't think I need this. Probably would have printed fine anyway, but okay, then. Interesting. So unused result that must be used. I forgot about that. So maybe let's do an unwrap. Which is not great, but it should at least get us, or at least an expect. Just so we can see what's going on. Now to add player. Oh wait, there's already an error on this, right? So let's just do unwrap. We'll see the error that's returned. Because if there was an error, we wouldn't know. If it fails here, then the number of players would not be updated. Although the handles would not be updated either. I don't know. All right, so let's give this a try. Maybe we'll close this third one just to make sure. Don't run into any unexpected. Maybe. Now let's just do my have this one join when the other one's ready. Let's join. Okay, here's our error. Planning index out of bounds. The length is one, okay. But we do have two players. Length of one index, how does that make sense? Let's go back to line 841. You know what? I think this method is not on the same struct. Which could make sense because what is self? It is the same struct. So why is it not updated here? Does this somehow fail before we even add the player? Right? No, it doesn't, because we did get this log. So what happened? That's really weird. Local, oh, hold on a second. Okay, interesting. So local connect status is actually the one that failed. For some reason, I was thinking handle was, but that wouldn't have made sense. That's just gonna happen. This is a loop. Only a loop. Yeah, so local connect status is the one that's not updated. Right, doesn't have enough I guess connection statuses. So yeah, somewhere when a new player gets added, this should also be I guess pushed to. Is there like a local connect status dot push? Okay. We could look at the builder. Is that something that passes into here? I don't see it. Let's go look at P2P session. There's local connect status. Here it is. So right after player registry. And so builder goes straight to sparse saving. I don't know what that is. Sparse saving. Sets the sparse saving. The sparse saving turned on. Only the this does not look at all like what we want. It's a Boolean. Definitely not. So let's look at the constructor instead, because it looks like yeah. All right, so player registry, local connect status. Okay. Oh, here we go. I think we missed this. So when the P2P session gets created initially, it does this. And then that's just kind of hard coded there. It assumes that yes, it'll never happen again. So I think we just need to push one connection status in there when the player joins, and it should be good. Wonder if some of this, yeah, probably all this also. Sinclair new handles. Let's see. So the Sinclair and then the initial states. This is relevant. All right, so let's do local connect status push. Yeah, we need this for sure. And then we'll get back to the Sinclair. But I'm pretty sure we'll have to do something with that. So, all right, let's give this a try. Oh, wait. Let's go back to box game. While this is building, I just want to go back and look at the, what was it? Yeah, sync layer. What does this do? New, it takes a number of players. So, and then it has a number of players here. It'll probably get messed up if the number of players isn't correct, right? Yeah, I think the next error is probably going to come from here. number of players. It should be an input queue for each player. And is that used anywhere else? It's used in a bunch of places. To figure out, I guess, the input queue. Oh, there's some asserts. And when it loops through the input queues, it uses number of players. Add local input. Is there anything that increases the number of players, perhaps? I don't think so. All right, must be done by now. Let's game. Let's open these up. Let's do round 2 this time. Okay. No errors here. But I think this. None of them got errors. Okay, but we're getting this prediction threshold forever. Okay. I wonder if it has to do with the sync layer. Or the fact that they're both controlling the same entity, maybe, or something. Prediction threshold. Okay, GGRS stage. This is embedded GGRS. Maybe let's take a look at that. 119 GGRS stage. No, that doesn't look right. Well, it's here. Skipping the frame. I'm gonna just search for this. Oh, 119. 199. Okay. I think I was got somehow misread the number. All right. So advanced frame, and then we get this error. Now let's okay. Okay, so I wonder if maybe we're okay. Oh, that sync layer makes me a bit uneasy, but I was expecting there to be an error. Maybe that'll come up later. For now, I think something is wrong with the prediction, right? I'm wondering, like, the player handle, local is 0 in both cases, and then the remote is 1. Is that going to cause issues in terms of moving the same? Like, if some event happens that it's moving the 0 handle player, then it's like both are controlling the same one, right? So yeah. And maybe that's causing issues with something. Yeah, because if you go to our box game, it kind of relies on each player knowing what ID they are, and it also relies on everything being set up already. Set up scene system. At least for the players. Let's go down to the player here. So yeah. Go back. Okay, they get a unique ID, I guess, but or maybe it's not a unique ID, it's just an order, I think. Yeah, so I think we need to run this every time a player joins, including if it's yourself. Actually, I'm not sure. Let me see. Handle. I think you'd always be handle 0, wouldn't you? Like even previously when everything was set up beforehand. Not. The handle, okay. How does it know which one is the local? So is it just using 0? Because in that case, that this isn't an issue yet. Okay, let's call a function for add player. It will also call from when a new player joins. So like a one-time function that will take, let's see. What kind of setup player is? Add player, we have some other add player functions. No. That's adds a player to see. All right. And then we can take this, all of this, and maybe a little more. Yeah, for the R. Yeah, well, we'll start by copying this. It'll tell us everything that we're missing. Here, and then we'll call it setup there. Okay, I think we can copy this over. This is not going to be different for every player, so I guess it's a bit redundant to have this in here, but I'm going to have the comments in here as well, I guess. Handle number player. Okay, so we need number of players. And we need the handle. In this case, handle 0. So handles the size. And then number of players, I think, is also your size. Yeah. We need commands. So what type that is. Let's get copy of them here. Okay, I guess it's just commands. And that. This is meshes and materials and RLP. Okay, meshes, materials, and RLP. Okay. That's these in meshes, materials. Fiber supply, we're missing an RLP. Ah, commands. I don't want to change this order here. Commands. Go ahead and format this. All right. So let's see, use of move value. Yeah, we don't want to move it. So I guess we can take a mutable reference, right? Happy with that? Oh, that's it? Okay. Oh, wait, no, it's still not. Expected struct, found mutable reference. Declare mutable, okay. Oh, is that all we needed? No. Use of it's because we have a loop here. It doesn't even really need to be a loop because now we're starting the session already with one player. So initially there's only going to be one player to set up. So let's just do this. Handle is going to be 0, I guess. And yeah. Okay. So it needs commands. So okay, I can't get away with this. All right. I'm gonna do this properly. Okay, so and I think that's the same issue for all of these. Yeah. If I just take a mutable reference everywhere. I had some errors earlier. I did this. Expected struct. Is it because of the type? I'm feeling confused a bit. I think that I put these in the wrong place. Yeah, I think none of these need to be mutable reference. That's just the access of the variable. Now the type, that's what needs to be mutable reference. Oh, I thought so. Okay, expected mute commands not okay. So I could say mutable reference for all of these. Just work. There we go. Does not need to be mutable. I guess so. Maybe that's redundant because it's already a mutable reference. We don't appear to have any errors, so maybe it's happy with this. All right, so now that we've extracted this out, extracted this out of the initial players. We need to call this when a player joins. So I don't want to intertwine the code too much. I don't know. Ideally, maybe we'd fire off like an event and we'd have a system that picks up the event. And maybe not even call this directly. Let's have a system that just set up players all the time. Yeah, actually, I would prefer that. See, how would we detect when a player joins? We can do that. Except for the initial player, right? We wouldn't know for that one. But maybe that's okay. We have a system that detects when players join, and we'll do that here. And the system will just call this number of players. Let me make sure where that's coming from. Here. Okay. So it's getting the number of players from the session. We're going to need that. In the main, we have a function here, handle joining players, which detects when a player joins. Maybe we do something similar. Or not, because we want this to happen first, though, right? You know what? Because I think some of the things would fail. Maybe let's just do it in here for now. Let's call setup player. And pass all this stuff in. And we'll have to add those to our system. Handle. Do we know the handle? Type handle. That's the last. Maybe I should name this handle. Why is it called this? Oh, because it's the last player that joined. Comment. Last index. Handle is the last index. Okay, let's rename this. All right. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, so we have handle, number of players. After we add the, okay, first of all, this is not, this shouldn't be good, should be good. All right. Player, and then session dot number of players. That's gonna be what we use here. And now we need the rest. Let's go to the box game and copy this 4. This here. And these all have to be mutable references. Okay, and I think it's happy. We have an error somewhere. There we go. Import that. Okay. Format for good measure, and let's run it. Okay, and let's get this set up. We'll use different room. Here's room 1. But just this one. I'll wait for it to launch. So it should be done in a second. There we go. All right. And I'll wait for the other one to launch before I join. Just because I want to make sure I can see the behavior. Taking a while to load. What are all these errors? Connection, maybe even clear them up. Is that from the last? Oh, no, I'm still in YouTube. There we go. Okay. Cool. All right, so let's join this side. Let's see what happens. Getting a lot of slowness. I'm not sure why. Oh. Okay, well, we got cool. But we still got the skipping a frame, breaking threshold, but no errors. I don't know about these. These are all again from before. Okay, maybe the console hadn't refreshed. But yeah, it's stuck in the same place. But we did get our cube added. And they look, are they in sync? I don't know. No, they're definitely not in sync. Yeah, they weren't able to sync up for some reason. But yeah, we did get our before this happened, we did get our cube added in both cases. It could be okay, so I think the issue now is getting the enemy synced up, right? Because the enemy starts in the center, but it's already started moving for the first player that created the game, and when the second player joins, well, he's saying no, it should be here, right? So we need to synchronize those. But I think these box queues themselves are okay, essentially. Or I don't really know, because I guess that's just where it spawns initially, right? That's just where blue spawns. So what's happening here? He's just playing alone. All right, so I guess maybe because this one froze up, then none of the logic for players joining is actually running. Let's see if I join here. There we go. Froze. Okay, so it looks like we need to figure out some more synchronization stuff. Maybe the sync layer. I mean, I wonder if maybe that's all it is. But for sure, I would wonder, like, how does it sync? Like, if a player's already had a history and the other player joins, then they're not starting at the same state. Will it be smart enough to take the older state from the player that's already been playing a while and push that to the newly joined? Perhaps. If we're lucky, maybe it's all it is the sync layer. It doesn't have the right number of players. Or if this error would give us a little more detail. But yeah. Anyway, that's my time for today. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see me do. For now, this is probably my last long stream like this. For a while, just because of the number of people joining is very low, if non-existent. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna try different formats. that, you know, the different social media algorithms potentially like better. So like maybe like shorter streams, like 2 minutes instead of like an hour long. So yeah, I'll be experimenting a bit. And so don't be surprised if you see like, you know, different formats, and you know, maybe you don't see these streams anymore, but definitely I'll bring them back if people want them. It's just that, you know, I guess people need to know about them to be able to want them in the first place. So yeah, so that's what I'll be focusing on more next week, figuring out, you know, what kind of content that the algorithms want, so that we can get eyeballs. All right. So yeah, that's all for this week's challenge. And next week I guess will be a bit of a surprise. And yeah, probably some kind of short lives, 2 minute long, I'm thinking. But yeah, I'll experiment with different things and see what the algorithms like. And I'll see you next week. All right, bye.